Hello and welcome to episode 171 of the Foundry Roundtable, the podcast exclusively covering the Foundry for Star Trek Online. I'm your tame Foundry author, Drogyn1701, who sadly, along with my co-host, was not at Star Trek Las Vegas this week. However, we're still cosplaying anyway, so obviously I am the Sona Master, and Greendragoon and DuncanIdaho are cosplaying as my Tarlac and Allura slaves.
Dibs on Tarlac. Tarlac's cool. I get the butthead.
If you say so.
I will let Duncan have the butthead.
I've got. I don't know.
I'm just going to start calling you Beavis and Butthead now.
Yeah, so it could either be a butthead or it could be cleavage head, but he's got that little furrow on the forehead, so he is comedy material, and I can work with that.
Yes. And Mark is not available to join us today, but we certainly have a lot to talk about. But first off, we're going to show off a Foundry map. We're going to give a shout out to Starfarertheta, who has built this map for us to show off. So we're going to enter into it as we speak here.
Ah, Sona!
Yes, hence the joke. I did bring my Sona character. He doesn't have the stretchy skin, so I guess he's I don't know. Maybe he spent time on the Baku planet and decided to venture out into the galaxy again after being healed a little bit.
One thing I'd actually kind of like to see for the Sona is a little bit of an evolution of the species where the original Baku Sona die off, and what's left of the Tarlac and Allura, who start stretching their skin to form a new leading class.
That could be interesting. Yeah, that was kind of a disappointment with me. I was not here when you guys ran the featured episode Brushfire, but it was a little bit of a disappointment for me that they didn't answer any of those questions about, there's Sona still around? What are they doing?
They're just kind of there, and that was kind of like I was like a little disappointed about that because we had a lot of good speculation about what's going on with them. But I did like it because it did actually have a good mission otherwise. So if you put those expectations, so if you put those expectations aside, it's cool. But it's like Cryptic announces something and then we start filling in the details on the depth, and it's like, what can live up to this? Like
So what we need is the Sona outfit here and the I don't know. I think are the ships already in the Foundry?
One is the one that players don't have.
Ah, okay. So we just need the outfit, and then heck with it. We'll tell our own story.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, even though we don't have the official skin, we also do have the Samhain skin texture, and that works out pretty well for Sona.
Maybe throw in like one of the scars, like really blown up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which is kind of what I did with this character. Is I used the hardened brow and made a nice big sort of flattish nose like the Ruafo had, and a scar, and called it good. Oops, I think we lost Duncan.
No, I'm still here. I'm just waiting through the black hole.
I mean, it seems like we lost you off our team.
Oh, yeah, probably, because right now, you know what's probably going to happen is that I'm probably going to have a server timeout. Yep, there we go. Yeah, Legion of Myth occasionally has this type of thing happen. So I'm just going to log back in, and I might...
It should probably put you back on our team.
Assuming I typed in the wrong password, which I didn't. Fail.
Yeah.
So I'd like to be able to comment on the mission that you're looking at right now,
yes.
But...
well, I mean, it is quite spectacular, I have to say.
I just have to take a look at which map. Okay, I'm looking at. Oh yeah, he gave that one because I wasn't quite sure on which. Oh, Twitch Friday kind of says
a city, sort of a palace map. And
yeah,
he's in the chat room, so he can tell us kind of what's going on. I believe this is for a slightly super.
Oh. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Skype just crashed. Give me a sec here, and I'll get everybody back. Do.
Oh, and you're on the stream.
Sorry, my Skype app crashed.
Oh,
we're having all kinds of technical difficulties tonight.
Yeah. Well, I tried to share the view for Duncan, and apparently that was just too much, and Skype said nope.
Yeah. So right now I'm just going to follow along with the live stream because I don't know what's going to happen if I try to log on again. I'm going to try to do that, and it's probably not going to work. So anyway,
okay.
So this
so
mission...
I gotta say, first things first. I mean, this gazebo here is totally awesome because I know exactly what it is. It's like the top of one of the buildings, but only the top. The rest of it is sunk down.
And then he still put a fountain in there using some of the square pillar pieces, a plant that's been sunken down. So this is just some really just amazing kind of hidden map work. Volume
2.
Yeah, and it's low gravity throughout. So that's kind of the backstory of the planet and why certain species looks the way they do. So all that just looks, I mean, then he used the star bases in, just that way. And it's like,
yeah, that looks really nice.
Yeah,
so yeah, those are the old Earth space deck.
Yep, with the vault behind them too to fill it out, and that just, oh my god, that looks fantastic. And
he says you have no idea how long this map took to make. I think the three of us, yeah, we have it. We know exactly.
Yes, yeah. we do know.
Yeah. So this is what he's been working on, and keep in mind that this is the start of this mission.
Well, and you can see it's not filled out with like NPCs yet, so can you imagine how cool
it actually was. We've taken all those out to hide any story details, so we're being top secret with what characters are involved, because this is our multi-author anthology like Purity or Fertonomy. So it's me, Starfarertheta, and Paul Sutherland going, and I'm kind of a little nervous now because I've got the conclusion. So I've got to, I've got to make sure my maps live up, and
I know how that goes. Yeah,
I think they do. I just can't say a single darn thing about them. I can't even, like, for my project, I can't share any screenshots either. Like, just absolutely totally, because it's a 100% spoiler on everything we're doing. So, this is our. We're hoping to get this out by the end of the year, and we're pretty good along. We're quite a long ways through the project, so we've got all the story details in. Starfarertheta's got a couple, he's got 2 missions, and those are both finished. I'm still working on mine, and Sutherland's still working on his as well. This is been a long time coming, because we've actually been talking about throwing ideas around for a really long time on this one. So this was we started actually building stuff out, I think. Oh, when was it? At the very least, the start of this year, but we've been working on the story idea for a long time. And I can say a little bit about that. It started out basically as us trying to create Dune, and has evolved from there. So now it's actually a little bit more of a kind of a techno thriller. So that's been very fun to work on.
So it's gone from Frank Herbert to Tom Clancy.
Yes, basically. Or actually, no, yeah, I had fatal error on that map. So
wow. Your thing just really doesn't like this map.
Yeah, and I test played the entire mission before we did any sharing. So this mission is basically, it's pretty much done, except for some more polishing stuff. So I've played the whole way through, and all I can really say about that is mad giggling noises. It's good. It's good.
I have to say, one of the things I really appreciate about this map is that, and I'm going to try and identify what objects these are, but they're little, there's glowy panels that he's placed high up on the buildings, and they look like they're windows way up there. From this distance.
Let's see. I can't.
There's some on the ground floor, and then there's some way up the top.
Dragoon's not looking.
Dragoon's not
Sorry.
looking at it at the moment. he followed me up and through the little room that's above everything.
Yeah, so he's exploring
Which
that
is fair.
alcove, and this is also a great demonstration.
Okay, so now we can see it on the screen.
Yeah. So how to use three-dimensional space.
So
those
those are
are
the
bars.
They bars or they platforms? These look like platforms. I know you're
Yeah,
like
let's
10
see.
seconds behind.
Yeah. So just go real close up to those. Huh.
Those look like platforms.
Yeah, those are
Benches
platforms.
or
But
platforms.
which platform?
One of the Starfleet ones.
It has let's see. XLO1. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I know which one that is now. Yeah, so one I never use. So yeah. So
Yeah,
use
it's got that little glowy bar around the edge, and if you
But
put
you're right,
it way
it
up
does.
high, it looks like windows.
yeah, and it's just one of those
It's
little
a,
things.
it's a forced perspective kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's forced perspective, and it's just a little bit of detail that you don't need to do that much, but just a little bit, and it really helps. Yeah. So, and I do really like how there's the kind of the flanges that are just stuck out a little bit, and it's not something you really see on modern architecture, but it just looks really good. So those are just wall pieces that have been connected up to each other. So a little bit of building block wall pieces, a little bit of foundation wall pieces, using additional buildings to add interior spaces just underneath that in the glassed-in area. And it's lively. This is one of my it's a fantastic map, and just the way he's mixed the building block styles together too.
And I
So it's
can't
not just
wait
one
to
flat surface.
see this with this square like full of people. It's just going to be an amazing map.
Oh yeah, it looks good, and and we've all contributed to the costume design on this one too. So I came up with the species. Sutherland came up with a species. I think we're still using them. Actually, I'm not sure about that one. I'll talk with Theta about that one later. But Theta's also got a couple of species too that occupy this place in particular. So all that is super cool, and I've got the finale to this. Sutherland's got the start, and Theta's got the middle, and he's got two missions, and this is mission one. This is the first mission he does. Then he does the second mission. There's maps on that one too, which are pretty spectacular as well. So this is the Transcendence series, and this will be out. It's hopefully sometime before the end of the year.
Now, are you going to essentially wait until all three missions are completed and then release it?
Yeah, because it's looking that I'm probably going to get so Starfarertheta is done, and he's got 2 and 3. I've got number 4. Sutherland's got 1. So so there is a necessary and logical order that these need to be released in. So we're hoping to do it all simultaneously. But right now we're just getting everything done out the door. And of course, Theta could use this use any spare time to put more polish on these maps.
Yeah, we all know how that goes. There's always more polish that could be done.
Oh yeah, and I've definitely encouraged him too. He'll be pretty much set by the time we get to 26th century, and I think he should enter that anthology project.
Yeah,
because we could use we could definitely use maps like this. All right, letting in.
So speaking of our 26th century anthology, we were talking before the show about. So one of the things that we want to do is once we get sort of an intro mission done that kind of sets the plot up of going to this other galaxy and trying to find Earth, what we want to do is start with a Foundry challenge, much like we did with AEI, so that we can kind of fill out the mission list a little bit for this anthology series. And I think you were talking, and I think I agree with you, is that we want to encourage at least that first bunch of missions to not find Earth as part of their central plot. To be more like adventures in this other galaxy.
Yeah, and they could definitely involve details about Earth, clues about its location. We just didn't want to sort of start off by having we get things out the door, two or three people simultaneously find Earth, and then we end up with a project where missions cancel each other out or conflict, where then players have to choose. You don't want
6 missions finding Earth in 6 different ways.
Yeah.
So it kind of reminds me of one of those...
What you want... Go ahead.
I was going to say, it kind of reminds me of one of those TV shows from the 90s, where they're super episodic, but they've got some like end goal. So there's like all these things that allude to or whatever their goal is, but they don't really get the break until like the very end.
Yeah. So we're thinking like something a little bit like, not as long, but Enterprise Season 3, where there's the end goal and there's working towards it. We don't have to be serial, but just sort of avoid that making a finale, because we might want to do something along that line a little bit later.
Yeah. In contrast to AEI, where we didn't have any kind of ending to it.
Yeah.
This one should have an ending, and we probably want to do that ourselves. But what we want from the other authors who want to take part is essentially sort of like world building.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on in this galaxy, this other galaxy. Who is there? What are the races that are there? What are they like? What hazards could you encounter there that maybe we've never experienced back in the Milky Way?
I might have.
Sounds like somebody already has some ideas.
Yeah. Does anyone know how to start the game in safe mode? Well, not like safe mode, but do a safe login.
You can do that from the launcher.
Yeah, from the launcher. If you go into options.
Yeah, there's that safe mode, but does that also involve a safe login? Because the problem I'm having right now is that I can't log on with that character, because every time I try to load up the map, it crashes out. It doesn't give me the login. Because I don't think it's like a technical related crash. It's a map issue. So I need to log in somewhere else, and that's not happening with that character.
Have you logged in with other characters?
Oh, yeah, that works out just fine. It's just I can't log on because I keep trying to load up this invalid test map. So I'm just going to try safe mode.
Safe mode's about the only thing that I can think of.
Okay, I just need to know how expansive safe mode was. Would just like turn off all graphics options, or did it actually put me somewhere safe?
I'm not sure.
We can see. Otherwise, I'll be doing stuff after the show.
So speaking of our challenge, or our 26th century anthology, we essentially now have a deadline to get all the pre-challenge work done, because of our basically our entire news section, news segment for tonight's show is going to deal with all of the stuff that was revealed at Star Trek Las Vegas. But one of these things was in October, we are going to get season 14. And my goal was to have all of the stuff for the 26th Century Challenge done, so that we could essentially launch the challenge right at the end of the next season's downtime. So we now know that that will be coming in October. So we just got to have everything ready by October. And then right after season 14 downtime is done, bam, launch the challenge. But I think that'll be doable.
Yeah.
In fact, we probably have time to spare. All right, so obviously, as I said, it was Star Trek Las Vegas this week, and Stowe had several panels actually, and at which they revealed certain things. The very first thing they revealed is that there's more TNG stuff coming. After all, it is the 30th anniversary of TNG, so why not? So the first thing is we're getting LeVar Burton as Captain Geordi LaForge. So we know that, not only does Geordi make captain in the other timeline where Voyager got, crashed and, Harry Kim got all hardcore, but he does in the regular timeline as well.
I would say that between various timelines, some things are kind of inevitable.
Yeah, probably. So let me see here. I've got the news thing up. We're going to get. It sounds like to me that we're going to get at least 2 missions with Jory.
Yes. So one of them is during this TNG Anniversary, which is in September, and will feature a new episode called Beyond the Nexus.
Yes. There's something that Stowe fans have been pointing out for years is that essentially the rotation of the Nexus makes it come around again in like 2410.
Yeah. So they listed that it passed through that section of the galaxy like every so and so many years.
Yeah. And here we are again. So it's hard to say exactly how they'll do the Nexus. That'd be interesting to find out.
So if you never put down the mission, you can stay in the Nexus.
Yes. I like that idea. It's not unlike a certain Foundry author who hasn't yet to finish a series and has left our characters stranded.
But more on that later.
Yes, more on that later. So that'll be interesting. And it says you'll investigate a distress call from a Galaxy-class ship whose crew is being controlled by a mysterious energy source. Now you wonder if they'll make it as the Challenger, which is the ship that Captain
was Galaxy
Forge
class
had in that other one. What is the name of that episode? Timeless. From
yes.
Voyager. And they showed off the rebuilt interior for the Galaxy class, which is just incredible. Absolutely beautiful.
Should find some photos of that.
I can't wait to see it. Now, I suppose there's a question of how will that make its way to players? Whether if you just have any Galaxy class and, go to your interior, will it automatically be there? Or, can you select it as part of the interior selections?
Yeah.
Or will you have to buy a pack to get it?
I'm hoping they don't go pack, but I suspecting because it is a significant time investment that they probably will go for a pack.
I mean, that's how they did the Intrepid interior. You had to buy stuff pack, essentially.
So it could be that they've got the Galaxy bundle. They could just throw it in there. And for people who have it, it might unlock if they add it to an existing pack. And then people who don't have that will have to buy it. And then maybe there might be a separate option for people who have some of the Galaxy classes, but not all.
Yeah. So
we shall see how that works out.
Let's hope so. I was talking on Twitter earlier this week. I'm like, this interior looks so good. And, some of the other ones, like the Intrepid interior, looks so good. And I'm like, I want to do something in them. And right now, of course, there isn't any actual gameplay to be had in them other than a couple of story missions, like Mindscape takes you into the Voyager interior.
Yeah. Well, it comes up a few times throughout Delta Rising.
It comes up a few times, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe to do a fun screenshot series, like a web comic or something,
or Foundry. If we get those maps,
we don't have.
I know we don't have them as maps, but we could get them as maps.
I suppose the possibility exists
because we've got other interiors.
I know there's a lot of people on the forums and Reddit that would love for more interior functionality.
Oh yeah,
in Stowe, but of course that's kind of a catch-22.
It is.
Because there are so many different interiors.
It takes time and personnel to do something with interiors, and perhaps more so because there are so many varied interiors. To try and hook up some kind of functionality that applies universally to all of them, that's got to be difficult.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of ships that have bridges that don't go to any other interior rooms. It's just a bridge.
Yeah, and those are attached to some of the most expensive ships too. So it's difficult to justify leaving those out because then people will say, "Hey, I spent X amount of resources to get insert ship Y here." why can't I use this for this, super new functionality? So it is a very difficult thing for Cryptic to work out in full.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows if they're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next bit is, as I alluded to, we have Season 14, which is going to be titled Emergence, coming in October.
One quick thing. Did we mention the scant?
Ah, yes, the scant.
Yes, we're getting
the
a scant.
And the Type 7 shuttle are going to be given away to everybody.
Sometime in September? Yeah.
Yes.
So probably coinciding with the release of the new feature episode.
Probably, somewhere around there.
So we're going to have to go look up exactly which one the Type 7 shuttle is.
It's that little sort of, tiny box one with sort of angled front.
Yeah,
it's the one with the weird overbite. It's actually really rounded.
Yeah.
Oh, is it that one or is it?
Yeah,
I just
looked it
weird.
up.
I was thinking of the shuttle pod. So the Type 7 is the more rounded one with the clamshell.
Yeah,
that's cool. I like that one better anyway.
Hang on, let me quick grab it.
And of course, the scant is something that people have been asking for years.
Yeah,
I mean,
half
well,
of us have been asking for it,
beginning.
and the other half have been desperately trying to make sure it doesn't happen.
I personally am in favor of any and all Space Barbie options. So
yes, indeed.
It's weird, but
am I going to put somebody in a scant on one of my Birds crews? Yes, probably.
you're going to put a guy in a scant?
Well, yeah. I mean, otherwise it's a skirt. And we have a bunch of those. I don't know. Maybe I'll pick the Doctor, Bridge Officer, since he's customizable.
Although, Doc, guess what you're wearing today?
So you're going to put Robert Picardo in a scant.
I don't think I'll send him a screenshot of that. Thank you.
Well, you can always go see if you can snag one of those Geordie Holobuff codes. Although you couldn't customize the uniforms for the TOS.
Not the TOS. You can for Geordie, though. For those who have the Geordie buff.
Mm-hmm.
He's customizable, and you can put a visor on him as well as have the ocular implants. So, let's see. But of course, have to be at the con or know somebody who could snag some codes for you.
We can't all milk Johnny Snowball.
Not quite. So let's see. As we were saying, season 14 will be launching in October. Kumarke is back. And says she and Geordie will accompany your captain to a new colony world in the featured episode Melting Pot. Lucari and Kentari are attempting to live together in harmony as one people, and Geordie is integral to the development of this new colony world. They'll arrive just in time, and what starts as a simple tour will evolve into a pitched battle for the colony's very survival. And we kind of know who's going to be attacking. It's going to be the Zenkethi, because there's going to be a new queue. And a new fleet holding as well. So you'll get to build your Kentari/Lucari colony as a fleet holding, and then there's also going to be a queue where you fight off the Zenkethi.
Well,
Actually, it says two new fleet holding defense queues, a new colony map special event, a brand new Zenkethi Red Alert, and a new primary specialization called Miracle Worker.
Which, from what we've been told, is very engineering focused.
Yes, and
which makes sense. I mean, given the title.
Yeah,
but I mean,
and they've given. They gave one example of one of the abilities, and one of the abilities that's going to be coming up with that new specialization dumps all of your shield power and your shields into hull points. So it does sound like an interesting tanking build.
I always thought it'd be kind of cool to do have an alien ship where it has no shields but regenerates hull really fast.
Yeah, so that sounds like it's going to be, more feasible coming up here. And it does seem like kind of like as Temporal was a specialization that really focused on Psi, we're probably going to get one for engineering now. So, that is coming up, and it's a full primary specialization too. And there's probably going to be...
probably means bridge officer specializations as well.
Yeah, and new ship types.
Yes, naturally.
But yeah, just definitely stay tuned in the coming weeks for any information on that.
Yes. So something that we'll probably not have any more information in the coming weeks is the little teaser that was on the end of the season 14 trailer, which teases something coming in the summer of 2018, so next summer, year away, which features the Dominion coming through the wormhole, or at least a scene of that, and the tagline, and it is a tagline, not a title, of "Victory is Life."
Yes.
Now, obviously, a lot of us are taking that to mean expansion.
Yes.
I'm
especially
like
with
96% sure that it's
I think
expansion.
that's a reasonable assumption. It does coincide with Deep Space Nine's 25th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So, Gamma Quadrant Dominion / DS9 related expansion.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And I think where it's definitely big content drop coming next year. And the only way I can see this not being expansion is if Cryptic starts adopting different language. Effectively, this will be a big thing coming next year. However, it's ultimately branded.
They can call these things whatever they want, but, a big content drop, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So it's one of those things because they haven't actually called it yet. I'm definitely on the side.
Yeah, and they're not going to. This is going to be a while.
We're a year out, so I mean, they're really teasing this thing like way in advance.
And so I'm basically just at the point of like, I'm just going to see how the next 2 seasons go. We kind of have an idea of where this is going, but I'm not going to be basically holding up a list of demands as like, oh, this is what it's going to be about. It's like, no, we don't know, because 2 seasons is a long time, because we've got season 14 to hold us out for the rest of the year. And what they teased was summer 2018.
Yeah, so we're probably gonna get season 15 in there before we get to this.
I would say 15 and possibly 16. Yeah. Give or take, depending, they do half seasons, and so one of those might be a half season.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's just like there could be a lot going on. So I mean, it's probably like they're teasing the Dominion, but it's not just going to be, undoubtedly it's not just going to be the Dominion just shows up like, hey, we're going to fight you now. Then we just go fight the Dominion.
Especially because we've already done that.
Yeah, we've already done that. And
we did that with the 2800.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where
I kind of felt, this kind of felt like that. Yeah, from that looked like it was from the 2800.
But it was interesting. I was, obviously there's been, tons and tons and tons of speculation. And one of the interesting things that I thought is, someone was sort of brainstorming of what kind of plot it could have. And they had an interesting take on it, which is, what if that fleet is like a refugee fleet? What if something really bad is going on in the Gamma Quadrant, the Dominion's taken a really bad beating, and they're going to come through and ask for our help?
That's definitely the way I'm thinking this is going to go. Because there's got to be some type of new development that breaks, because we're kind of in a happy status quo with the Dominion now. They've got their thing, we've got our thing, and left to itself, there's not going to do anything. Nothing's going to change there. Something's going to change. Either we go seeking the Dominion or they come to see us. And them coming to see us, I mean, the big thing is just going to be they're getting hit really hard by something. And what that thing is, it's going to be interesting, because there's any number of candidates that could satisfy us. Mm-hmm. Probably not just the Zenkethi, because they're not that big of a faction.
They're a beta quadrant race.
Yeah, so it's not like them going through the wormhole and then them handing it to the Dominion. They just
Alpha quadrant, actually.
Yeah, so I heard that a little bit of speculation, like, oh, the Zenkethi are attacking the Dominion. It's like, not quite.
That doesn't quite make sense.
That doesn't quite fit.
I imagine, by the time we get to next year, I think we'll be done with the Zenkethi.
Yeah.
So you want to hear my completely off the wall theory? And
go for it.
There's almost certainly not what's going to happen.
We love off the wall theory.
Yes.
Okay. So this expansion is born out of the 2800. That the fleet that came through in the 2800 is kind of left in a weird state within the Dominion after the whole events of Idea Space Nine, where they are like out of sync with the Dominion, and they're kind of like shunned. And this kind of causes that group to go off and kind of form their own collective or their own little group, like mini Dominion, so to speak. And this is the basis for a new player faction. Maybe one that doesn't even start like down at 0. Maybe it starts like their tutorial is the 2800 as seen from their perspective. And then they go on from there. And they just kind of join up with the Alpha Quadrant powers.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting way to do it. The one thing I'm just really hesitant about is that I don't think this is going to be a new faction. I think this is going to be...
I don't either. That's why it's an off-the-wall theory.
Yeah, it's off the wall. Like, well, it's one of those things, because we have all the ships but one.
Yeah, I mean, I would give it as like kind of a 60-40. I'm 60% sure that it's not going to be a new faction, but there's like a 40% amount of doubt there.
Yeah, so as a way of getting a new faction, that's definitely an interesting way of doing it, because you can use established Star Trek Online characters, like Loris. As you can really
kill Kyle Khan, so
yeah, so it's Loris doing stuff, and having
maybe they tie in with the founders in the Alpha Quadrant, that little group we leave on that planet.
Yeah, like she comes seeking them, and then there's a little bit of a brouhaha with that. I mean, that's a possibility. My totally off the wall theory on this is that it's the Borg expanding from the Delta Quadrant into the Gamma Quadrant, and then this will lead into an extended Borg arc leading into a cooperative faction.
Maybe.
So that this expansion's endgame focused on helping the Dominion. The next expansion gives us a playable Borg cooperative faction that starts in some way that we can't really envision right now unless it's just Vega. Because we still have to finish that arc at some point. But yeah, that's where, if I had to map out like the entire direction of Cryptic over the next couple of years, I would kind of go a little bit in that way, that they really kind of start like we start moving into dealing with the Borg on sort of equal terms, because we kind of brushed against them in Delta Rising. Like, just we've got that Borg battle zone. They're kind of there, but they haven't been a focus for a while.
We didn't particularly go into their space any. There wasn't.
Yeah, well, they were kind of
involving them.
They were kind of pushed back by the Valdwar.
Yeah, so we've kind of got like the Borg are out there, and they are at the same time the most popular faction to fight in Star Trek Online. If you look at the queues.
Yeah, that has more to do with. Consistency of runs, but
yeah, the consistency of runs and all that. It's still one of those things where the Borg do have a pretty central space in Star Trek Online, and if Cryptic could get a lot of leverage out of doing a big Borg content release for Focus for a little while. So I think that our run through the Gamma Quadrant is a way of leading into the Borg.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I definitely think it's a matter of when, not if, for the Borg.
Oh yeah, I'm just thinking that like it's going to be, we're thinking about like this being a Dominion focused expansion. I'm thinking it could be more of a, we go to the Gamma Quadrant, but we're fighting the Borg in the Gamma Quadrant and helping the Dominion.
Which ironically is isn't that part and parcel of Pax Federatica's the 100th?
A little bit, yeah. So Cryptic does the 100th.
Although I think actually, it's slightly reversed in that.
Yeah,
he takes the Dominion into the Gamma Quadrant rather than.
So this is the flip side to that, but kind of similar idea, because that's it's a pretty potent combo. So
well, I kind of like your idea, Dragoon, and Bloodleaf in our chat room likens it to the Death Knight starting zone in World of Warcraft, where essentially you start out as a bad guy working for the bad guys, and then plot things happen, and by the time you're at the end of the starting area, you decide to be a good guy.
Yeah.
Although we kind of were there though with the early Klingon faction, that we started at level 20, and then it then got it basically kind of followed a little bit of the that same plot, like that same pattern. So I just don't know if Cryptic would be willing to go back to that route.
If done right, I think they would. I think there was a lot of problems with the Klingons, not related to the fact that they started at like level 20 or 30.
So yeah, I mean,
and obviously they fleshed that out eventually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but yeah, I think though if they do that, then the Dominion is a great choice for that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point they've got enough starting factions that they can afford to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was you, Duncan, who mentioned on Twitter the other day that, while we were all speculating on, a Dominion faction is, in the order of expansion releases that we've had, we have faction, non-faction, faction. Now we're at expansion 4.
Yeah. So
if they keep up that pattern, it means no expansion or no faction for this one.
And I've always,
but there's nothing to hold them to that pattern though.
Yeah. Although I've made the argument in the past that a Dominion faction is particularly unlikely because they're one of the best populated non-playable factions right now in terms of available gear.
Yeah, because we have ships, we have outfits, we have weapons.
Yeah, and it would only just take another lockbox to kind of fill in the remaining gaps.
Because there's just one cannon ship that they haven't made playable.
Yeah, and then they could add more standard weapons and more bridge officer options, and
have some Jem'Hadar bridge officers that aren't unique, so you can actually fill out a roster.
Yeah, well, and they could also if they do that as a faction, they could also make C-Store stuff available too. Mm-hmm. So that it's already it's close enough that interested players right now could really dig into the Dominion. But if they kind of team up C-Store rewards and mission rewards and a new lockbox, that could also be a way of getting players very close to a playable Dominion faction, maybe even sufficiently close, without actually having to develop one, like from the get-go. And then the next playable faction would be something that's they've been a little bit more careful to withhold content from. And that could either be, down the road, depending on how the series develops, could be a Cardassian faction, or it could be a Borg faction, or something that we just aren't thinking about right now.
Oh, I just had an idea. I tack this onto my crazy idea. What if you have like a 1 to 10 starting area like you do for the TOS, where they're their own little version of sector space, except that their version is set during the Dominion War. It's happening during the Dominion War. By the end of it, you're sent over to the Gamma Quadrant to go accompany this fleet or escort this fleet back, and you get caught in the wormhole during this, emerge during the 2409, and then you go from there.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, because then you could work at the whole Dominion War without really cheating, and it works too perfectly.
That does.
Then you can work in all the DS9 people and whatever DS9 voice actors.
Yeah, so you can get a couple of.
And
I've already got a couple.
And there's already there's a good character arc to that too, because it does sort of build in going from bad guy to good guy, bad guy to good guy, as kind of Loris's character arc. That say we're a Jem'Hadar or a Vorta or another client species that's following Loris. And then we're up with her up to the 2800, and then that's when she has her character turn. And then we go off on a series of missions that involves her kind of turning against the Dominion and then starting up that new sect.
Oh,
well, or not even necessarily turning against the Dominion, because the Dominion itself, in our time frame, is going to be the one that's been more influenced by Odo. They're going to be more, happy and fluffy.
But actually, that's kind of an interesting
thing. Cryptic likes to keep our playable factions as the good guys. So, we could easily be part of that 2800 fleet, but be reconciled with the Dominion at large.
Yeah, and then just sent over to the Alpha Quadrant powers as kind of a goodwill thing, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or liaisons to the Alpha Quadrant.
You tried to screw these people over and attack them, so now you get to make it right.
Yeah.
So it gets even better, because if if the starting area for this takes place during the Dominion War, we've got a good excuse to get Wei Yun back.
Can we get a Wei Yun?
Because he's not dead yet.
Yes, we get a bridge officer Wei Yun. Come on.
I don't know if we'll get a widget for Wei Yun, but he could appear. He could appear.
We need one.
A Wei Yun clone?
Everyone gets a Wei Yun clone as a mission reward. Come on.
Maybe Wei Yun is the Tovon Kev of the Dominion faction.
Yes. Oh, come on. No one, like, if you get Jeffrey Combs in as your... Oh, God. Now, the only... Like, I would definitely go for this if the 3 species choices are Jem'Hadar, Vorta, and Alien. Because...
I think maybe there's some room to flesh it out a little bit, because I think they do...
Oh, they keep
I mean, there's nothing to say that there aren't more races in the Dominion, even more races that are engineered by the Founders.
Well, that's why I'm thinking, just to have Alien there, just to cover all those bases.
Okay, so this is based on... Okay, so you remember in Brushfire that one of the Sona name drops like were good allies with the Dominion?
Yeah.
So what if Sona is one of the playable races? Like...
Well, you run into issues with this sort of thing, because obviously we do have playable ships already and costumes.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if that's in of itself completely...
I mean, personally,
it's a
I don't
showstopper.
Care. I mean, it's not a big deal to me if they have a faction of something that already has a playable ship elsewhere, because that's a ship that everybody can use. It's kind of off by itself. It's a one-off thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't stop you from being still having that exclusivity on your own faction.
Yeah. And if they do a Dominion faction, it gives Cryptic license to go crazy with making new ships to fill out the roster.
Yeah.
We know they love to do that.
No, I'll say this is still a completely off-the-wall theory, so its odds of happening are so low.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe they're listening to this and they're like, oh, that's a really good idea. Let's go do it. We got a year.
Well, we know they love to plan things quite a bit in advance, so...
Yeah.
I assume they know in broad strokes what they're going to do, at least in broad strokes, if not,
having stuff actually in production on it.
Yeah.
I am going to guess one thing though, that I'm betting that we're going to get is a revamped DS9 interior.
Yes. I would be shocked if they don't work that in, because they've been playing that forever.
I mean, yeah, we know it's been planned and we know it's been put off in the past. Taco has said so on the forums. I think maybe even started some work. I don't know. But if they were ever going to do it, it's going to be now, or for next summer. So I think that'll be really cool, because obviously the one we have now could use some work to make it look more like canon.
Yeah. Although I'd wonder if they'd ship that with depending on when that gets done, they might either ship that with this new the expansion coming out, or they could even do it in like season 15. Like if they need more to sell the lead up to this, that they revamp DS9 and have a season that takes place around DS9, and then the next season on from that, then we go on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're going to probably use the remaining seasons to wrap up whatever they're doing with this in Kethy.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see who they get for voiceovers, because obviously, a big part of an expansion like this, where you go to do a lot of DS9 content, you're going to want some voice actors from, canon characters. So you wonder who they're going to get.
Jeffrey Combs.
Obviously, Jeffrey Combs is because you get at least 2 characters.
Two from DS9.
You could bring in Brunt. That'd be fun. Bring in Brunt for an episode.
And then
Descendant of Shran.
Or Shran himself if he comes up in a later episode, because you never know how things.
Bring the Captain of the Enterprise F back into things and have him voice that guy.
Oh, replace Sean's Raquel Sean's voice actor.
I
Jeffrey Combs.
I honestly don't know who voices Sean in previous episodes. So no offense.
It's definitely not Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, I mean, there's just any number of characters you could bring back. Obviously, like Jake Sisko. He'd be in his 60s or so by now.
Old man O'Brien.
Hey, I want to point out. Old Jake was played by Tony Todd.
This is true.
Aha!
So, they could do Tony Todd.
Yeah, and we've already got him, so
they may have already had him record some lines already. So
yeah, Cryptic does plan ahead on these things.
That'd be pretty funny. So anyway, let's see what else do we have on our news thing. Let's see here. Okay, so the other thing is there was a Q&A that wasn't really heavily tweeted about, but one of the things that did come up with that, a Q&A with Cryptic Guys, is Salami Inferno said that we might see Star Trek Discovery content before the end of the year. I wouldn't take that as a promise, but still, I find that encouraging.
Yeah, and content includes a lot of things too. So
yes, that could mean a lot of things. It could mean ships in a lockbox, outfits. It could mean a featured episode. Who knows?
Yeah, or just like even a one-off, kind of like the Kelvin Admiral uniform giveaway too. Mm-hmm. So it could be something very small, or it could be it's something meatier.
There's obviously a lot of stuff that they can put in for sure. They've been showing off all kinds of props and concept art and models and things like that at the conventions over the past couple of weeks. Some of the really cool stuff is like the Klingon armor.
Or the Klingon spacesuit.
Yeah, the Klingon spacesuit. Just all kinds of stuff. And of course the Discovery and the Senzu. And we think there's a third ship in that trailer, but we can't really see it very well.
Oh, we see the name of it. What is it? I can't remember the name. Is it the Endeavor or something like that? No, it's like Euros or Europa or
Europa might be. It looks like it's getting destroyed, frankly.
Yeah.
Obviously, we do know that it's going to involve a war with the Klingons, or which is something that I think was alluded to in
TOS
times. Is that they've had a long-standing conflict with the Klingons, leading up to Day of the Dove, which is when the Organians force them to make peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that it was revealed that there are 24 Klingon houses, and we've only seen one so far out of Star Trek Discovery, and the other factions are going to have different styles and different ethoses as well. So while we might be fighting one particular faction in Star Trek Discovery, there could be
Stowe could bring in another faction.
Stowe could bring in other factions or that same faction. But there could be multiple layers to Discovery with the fact that, we might, the Federation might have hostilities with one particular group of Klingons, but overall relations with the Empire might be more complicated, which is where I'm thinking they're probably going to go with this. Kind of like hot, cold. So,
well, it sounds like they're going to be changing up Klingon culture quite a bit, which is fine, or or at least adding layers to it.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Because for me, they've been showing off a lot of the costumes out of Star Trek Las Vegas. I've been following along, especially with everyone's everyone who's attending basically has that set of tweets where they go through the Discovery costume gallery.
Oh yeah,
and showing off the Torchbringer, who I have no idea what that character is, but everyone keeps showing that full armor Klingon.
Yeah, and is that not like the coolest thing ever? I mean, it's so intricate. And
so the Torchbearer is, I think, their version of an EV suit. Because I think it's seen
we know it can
from a scene where it it's outside of a hall with who's the main person.
Yeah,
whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, from the just from the name, that's what it's kind of like. It's that full armor suit. Then I think Torchbearer is that ceremonial?
It has a ceremonial context to it.
Yeah, so that's interesting, and I do really like the designs. I'm not sold on the Klingon this house's ships, but just the rest of the look I'm really excited for, especially like the look of the Klingons, like the actual
and I'm kind of with you there on the ships. I think it will be more. I think it will work when you actually see them in context, in actual shots in the show, and I think it'll work better there than it does in still images.
Oh yeah.
And very brief shots and trailers.
A very different take on the Klingons.
Because you get because right now we don't have the story that's helping to build that up too.
Yeah.
So it's just like here's something out of just completely out of context.
What they're doing and what I always like to see out of like TV shows and that sort of thing is they're making them more alien.
Mm-hmm.
They're making them. Because obviously anything that humans design for fictional things is going to, it's very hard to make it look like a human didn't design that. Because we know at the end of the day, a human did design that. So anything you can do to make things be more alien is, I think, a good thing in my book.
Yeah, and that's what I've really been liking about, especially the new Klingon heads. Yes. That it really it's starting to strike again that this is an alien.
They've changed the whole shape of the head.
Yeah, so now
that is more alien.
And now and you just get like they've been doing close-up stills of the eye, and it's like okay, I can actually sort of re-engage with this as this is not just a Klingon, as in a guy I'm recognizing as in makeup, but this is an alien faction that's existing in this universe I can really sort of get immersed with again.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see that, and then the other things, of course, is they showed off some more variants of the Starfleet uniform. Like there's a medical variant that's kind of white, and then there's a away team armor one that I think looks very cool. And I can't wait to have that instead.
Actual attempts to protect the red shirts?
Yeah,
they
We're
get
not just going to beat down in cloth.
Yeah. And yeah, I do really like those uniforms too. Although I think the EV suit looks like the Federation EV suit, when you see it just sort of like standing up, it does look a little top heavy.
It does, yeah. I had that same impression.
Yeah, it works as an EV suit in space.
Obviously, the actor can stand up in it.
Yeah. So I was tweeting earlier in the week, I think that I would like to see some featured episode for Discovery content. Even if it's just like a one-off like they did for the Kelvin timeline, which I thought that was a neat way to handle it. Do like something that doesn't involve time travel.
Yeah.
I think we've done enough of that in stuff.
They could just bring in that like the Klingon house that's key to this guy, like the essential to the current Discovery content, that faction just continues on into the 25th century and conveniently doesn't change too much of their look.
Here's another thought that I had. What about a sleeper ship?
That too, because that's also established.
We know that the Klingons have sent out sleeper ships in the past. We encountered a couple of them in Star Trek episodes. So what if this house did it too?
That's easy. So that works.
You find them and they're really nasty. When they wake up.
Another something I considered was going after like a derelict like Discovery class or whatever class they end up calling it.
Yeah, that's
so it's the same class as the Discovery, but it's like a different ship and it's derelict. So it's sort of from the same mirror, and then you can kind of explore the lore behind that and kind of get a glimpse at the Discovery time period.
Maybe it's full of nasty Klingons.
They turned it into a sleeper ship.
There you go. So I don't know. Obviously, we will have to wait and see how the Discovery manifests itself in Stowe. What is it, September 28th or something like that is when the show premieres?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Which I'm sure we will be discussing heavily after it airs and we all watch it.
Oh yeah.
We may have to block off a Discovery segment for the show or something, or maybe do a separate thing so that people who don't want spoilers can not have spoilers. So let's see. That is kind of the end of our news. Obviously, there's not too much coming out of the devs other than that stuff because they're all at STLV. Actually, not all. It's only a small contingent. But so let's see. Let's talk about what we've been working on. So, Dragoon, let's start with you.
All right. So I actually had a very good day yesterday and got a ton done. I mentioned before that I had been working on what was the second to last map, and it's kind of a big, important, you get to make a decision that can affect the outcome of the mission. And so this requires a massive ton of trigger work. And I just kind of hit into a groove yesterday and spent the whole day just in one monitor, just working on the mission, getting all the triggers set up and whatnot. And then on the other monitor, I had the Shields of Tomorrow going, so I've been trying to catch up on those. But I managed to get it fully functional. So there are two primary objectives that you have for this map. And they are somewhat mutually exclusive. So they're both time sensitive, and so you have to choose, do you want to go off and do one, in which case if by the time you get to the other, everybody's dead, or you go off and help them, but by the time you get back, you failed this mission. And so based on choices that you make, things can change drastically. And so just trying to get that to work with our very linear objective system, and still feel in a way that it's still fitting within that. Obviously, you go hit both, regardless. And so that kind of is where the objectives lie. But I'm really pleased with how it's turning out, because it really does feel like you have some, your decisions matter, which is really kind of one of the core things that I wanted to go for with Part 3. But towards that end, I actually wanted to... hang on, let me pull it up here. There we go. I went ahead and decided to map out where Part 3 sits in its completion. Mostly for my own sake, but also for me trying to say, because I get in here every week and I talk about, I'm doing this or that, but it doesn't really provide a sense of where everything is. And so I made this graphic to basically kind of give everybody kind of a idea of when it's going to, or how far along it is. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the right one. There we go. So this is my graphic I made, and I tried to make it all fancy. Okay, so let me break down for you exactly what's being shown here. So there are a total of 9 maps in Part 3. I've got, those are all pretty set in stone, so I got a pretty strong idea of where everything goes. And I've actually gone through, I've numbered them, and I've given them code names. So the map I was working on yesterday is the second to last, which is I've codenamed Agency. Give you an idea of what the focus of the map is. And just yesterday, I got it into a state where I would consider the objectives are complete. And so it means that you can functionally play through the entire map from beginning to end. Dialogue is not finalized. There's a bunch of dialogues, it's one sentence where it just says something's happening, or something like that. But functionally, you can play through it to the beginning, from beginning to end. All the possible interactions are in there. So that was kind of the first of the maps I've done to get into that stage. So you can kind of see here where all the things are. I've got 3 maps that I'm really just not I've not really made a serious effort on trying to build them out. I've got a couple of things that I've tried, but not anything that I've been happy with or really figured it out. So those are obviously the ones. I've got several that are already complete where they're built. I'm not really going to make any changes to them. It's just a matter of going in, putting in the characters, the interactions, and all that stuff. And then I've got one which I've codenamed Qualoon, which I've talked about before not too long ago, which is basically the refugee colony that I've been working on. And that's about half built. So yeah, this is kind of where things sit, and hopefully I'll update this graphic as we go along. I'm not going to show this up like every week or anything, but as I make some progress or something updates, I'll kind of update this and show it off, so you guys can kind of get an idea of where things are. And the goal, of course, is to get it done by the end of the year. It's going to be a challenge, but I think it can be done. So that's my status.
I say it actually looks like you got made pretty decent progress there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've not been idle.
It's not in too bad a position.
Yeah, but I mean, there's still. I mean, and the tricky part was because, like, as I've gotten better at the Foundry, I've been more driven to do more with like every map, and so it's to the point now where like every single map is custom. It's not like before where I would rely heavily on just redressing an interior.
I think a lot of us reach that point where it's like, okay, I can do this now, so I'm going to do this a lot. Every map must be custom.
But yeah, I mean,
welcome
a lot of
I was just going to say, welcome to my hell. It's like, I can do a Federation Starship interior, or, well, that's one of the default ones, or I can build my own that's doing entirely the same job.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of the stock maps defined how the the story would flow on that maps, because based on, okay, I've got this room, this room, this room. What can I make happen in these rooms? And more and more, it's like I've been doing that less and doing more of, okay, I want to have these things happen, and none of the stock maps are going to be able to do that because I'm too specific. And so yeah, it just becomes more and more and more.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with it. It just takes time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yesterday definitely felt like a very productive day, and I probably spent most of the day in the Foundry.
All right. Duncan, what have you been working on?
Not much. So, released my new mission last week. So this week it's just been polishing that one up and then starting some character work on 26th Century. So nothing really to show off, but yeah, I've just been, just sort of in that nice little lull period where it's like, hey, I got something done in the Foundry. So, yeah, not a whole lot. But yeah, just making sure Fated Horizon is good to go, and it is. And kind of starting to play around with what to do next.
All right. Well, thanks to Duncan, who let me know that the Legion of Myth guys had played my mission Under Gray Skies, which I made for the Iconian War Anthology. I went back and took a look at a half-finished mission of mine, which is a follow-up to that mission. I kind of always envisioned it as a part one to another mission. Which was going to, continue the story of and basically answer some of the questions that were raised by part one, which is, questions that the Legion of Myth guys had when they finished the mission, which I'm glad to say they liked it. And for me, it's always very useful to have to watch somebody play through a mission and see, if there's any problems with it. There was one where I think an invisible wall didn't spawn, or he got around it somehow. On occasion, we found that the invisible walls can be a little spongy, especially for bridge officers.
Yeah, that's why I double wall.
Yeah.
No leaks.
But I think I got that one fixed. So that was nice to be able to fix that. So basically, the original mission has you going to a secret outpost, and you get attacked. This is in the middle of the Iconian War. You get attacked by heralds, and you try and fight them off, and you're about to be overrun when finally reinforcements from Starfleet come and pull your butt out of the fire. And you basically abandon that outpost and head back to secure Starbase. Your player character is left wondering, did we lose all those people there in that attack for nothing? So the second part will pick up, and I went back and looked at it. I've got basically 4 maps done, like almost 100% done. I got to fill out one of them with some more NPCs, but that's okay. That's not too tough to do. Unfortunately, there's going to be like at least 5 or 6 more maps to do, including at least a couple of custom builds. But the nice part is that I have probably 90% of the script written. So it's in fairly good shape. I just got to spend some days in Foundry, days like you had yesterday, Dragoon, where really buckle down and get to the maps, because I could put this one out. It's poised to be a releasable mission. So that's where I'm at. And I found an answer to a question that you had, Duncan, earlier in the week, which is there's a Starbase map that I have in there, and you were wondering what space backdrop I had, because it does include a little bit of lighting, and the answer is Zarya.
Oh, that's Zarya again?
Hmm?
Oh, I was hoping it was a different one, because Zarya is the one that I know has that little extra lighting. So I was hoping it's like, oh, do we have a number 2? So, oh, well.
Oh, well. But I think this could be a fun mission, and I mean, obviously, it's going back in time a little bit to the Iconian War, but the first mission ended on like a huge downer, and that was intentional. But it'd be kind of nice to have you come back and win a victory. So, obviously, they liked it, so hopefully they will like the follow-up.
Yeah.
So let's see. I've got
one quick reminder. How's Purity Part 6 coming along?
Well, as soon as the devs get back from STLV, I want to try and hound Zero and see if we can't get that taken down and put back up.
Okay. Just making sure on that one too.
Yeah, I know, because it's been down. It did not auto republish, so there may be other spotlights that are in that same position. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
Could be spotlights from people who are not part of the community anymore. So
yeah, and I kind of suspected that. I couldn't come up with a full list of all spotlight missions, but the list does look a little short, so we may have lost 1 or 2. But I just can't. I haven't heard any other talk besides noticing that Purity 6 was down for the moment.
Well, it's not a problem that I can fix myself, so I got to try and get that on it. Let's see. So you were going to give a couple of mission shout-outs, I think?
Yep. So I played a couple this week, and I wanted to give the authors a couple of shout-outs. So the first one was Tholian Tempest by Zeb Goodwin. So, interesting premise, a little light on the map builds, a little haphazard, and one of them was like, I don't know if this actually works, but it's such a fun mission otherwise. So, with very well-balanced combat and some pretty good use of truck elements in that one. So, I wanted to give a shout-out to that. It's a new mission, so you can find it in the new tab, or just go ahead and search Tholian Tempest by Zeb Goodwin, and that'll be in the show notes. And the other one, this is an older mission, but I finally got around to playing it. Adrift by by Twitter's own Admiral Aaron, aka Midnight TLC. That one, very well established mission, but I want to get to the start of that series. So that one was crazy good fun. Really good map builds, really great trigger work, and some pretty slick combat sections. So that one was Drift by Midnight TLC, a.k.a. Admiral Aaron.
Crazy good fun is a good way to describe his general mission style.
Yep.
He likes to include essentially people he knows, like Twitter friends and that sort of thing. And
I killed the Firkins. That's pretty fun. And it's kind of like it's a mix of different styles. So it was almost like an Aliens plot woven into a standard Borg plot. So you had the two things going on simultaneously, and that might confuse some people, but it felt like a really nice blend of styles. One of which was Star Trek, one of which was other sci-fi, but I thought it worked out really well. So that was the other mission shout out, definitely.
Okay. I've got one as well. I dipped a toe into the series Building the Republic by Redbeard. This is somebody who's appeared on the forums and has posts. Basically, what he wants to do is make a 12-part episode series, which is intended to give sort of like an alternate storyline to Romulan Republic characters between the episodes of Freedom and the new Romulus stuff that you do in the Adventure Zone, which I wholeheartedly approve of approaches like that. So I wanted to give it a try at least, and I got to the first episode, which is called New Romulus Sector Number 5A. And what he's basically done is kind of replicated the style of those Adventure Zone missions, where you go and basically you are surveying an area of the surface of New Romulus to see if it's a good fit to set up a training area for security officers. So you test the water, you survey the area, you eliminate some Tal Shiar agents, you eliminate some Tholians, and it all fits very well in with the style of that. I hate to call it busy work that you do on New Romulus, but it kind of is. And so that was an interesting way to start. I hope that he kind of builds on that and goes off in new and interesting directions. I haven't played the rest of it, so we'll see. He's got actually 5 of them published now, because I do like that idea of making an alternate storyline for player characters, because of course once you get, especially with the Romulans and the Klingons, once you get to a certain point in the story, all the story threads come together and you're all doing the same content. So I think there's room for more stories for the player characters that fit in between the cryptic content.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would definitely like to see Foundry authors do that sort of thing. I wouldn't call this a 5-star mission for sure. I think I give it 4 to be charitable, but I would like to see him use this as a foundation. It was obvious to me that he knows what he's doing. He created a pretty good looking version of New Romulus. Since we don't have any base maps for New Romulus, you have to sort of make your own or adapt something into it, and he adapted an Alpine map into it. Used lots of New Romulus trees. Did pretty well with using water volumes to make some neat water areas, and use the New Romulus ruins. So I mean, we have a lot of tools to be able to do that, and he did that fairly well. The only suggestion I had for him that I left in his review is try and find some sort of background that has a purple sky, just to have some continuity. Obviously, you can have different areas of the planet that are going to look different,
but the purple sky,
purple sky makes it give that New Romulus feel.
And we do have plenty of those. Like Grua Pente right off the bat. And yeah, that would actually work out pretty well, and it would also add a little bit of an atmosphere to the mission as well.
Yes. So I'm going to try and give his other ones a play here. Since he's got 5 of them out of 12 planned. So that is New Romulus Sector Number 5A is the start, and that's by Redbeard. So let's see. Discussion topics. What would you guys like to talk about today?
Let's see. I'm still working on trying to get my Fed Tag character to load in. So, yeah, I might.
Obviously, you got a problem there.
I've got a problem there, and it might be that it's still trying to put me into your instance, and that's what's bugged.
Let's get out of this sentence because I've actually got another thing I want to show off. It's not a Foundry thing. It's just something, an in-game map that we haven't been to yet. So if you want to, while Dragoon as our cameraman is showing this other map off.
What's this other map? I'm in sector space.
You'll get an invite to it in a second.
Bridge map?
Yes.
Since
I have the Sona bridge.
It has a couch.
And it's quite interesting. So now that we are out of that, maybe you can try logging in and see if it works.
Boom. Crash. Yeah, so this might be contact support type thing.
Okay,
might have to.
Give it like an hour, and by then the instance will have been shut down, and it should put you to sector space.
Yeah, hopefully, unless it's still trying to actually just put me into that mission, but we'll see.
It should.
But we'll give that. I'll give that a try a little bit.
Yeah, I think instances like that, they must expire after a little while.
Yeah,
I think it's like 15 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and log on as another character and be able to join you guys up in just a second here.
Okay, give you a invite to Dragoon.
And I will say, as far as the new assets that we highlighted last week, I think Fated Horizon is the first Foundry mission to utilize those. Because I was able to actually build my last map around a couple of the assets. So the Enterprise J crate and the Nikul console. But we don't have that couch.
Yibs.
I'm gonna if we get that couch in the Foundry, I'm gonna try to include it in every mission that I make. Just somehow, because you could just sort of it's either an actual furnishing item, or it's like in an alleyway, or it's actually appeared out of nowhere, like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the a certain Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy joke.
I do know the joke you're talking about. Isn't that how they get back to the future?
Yeah. There's eddies in the space-time continuum. All right, so I'm logged in on a workable character right now.
So my only complaint is that the remote controls are so far away from the couch.
Oh no!
Maybe there's a handheld remote.
Oh, you know what that is?
It's all voice activated, of course.
It's to prevent the absolute collapse of Sona society, to actually force the captain to get up at a certain point.
Okay, so here's an idea. What if you were to do
back in my day, we had to get off the couch to change the channel. I actually do remember that.
What if you were to make a home theater that looked like this?
That would be awesome.
Oh, the one thing I was also going to say is that maybe the Sona actually have a stick that's underneath the couch, but conveniently there is no underneath the couch. They filled it up, put a bit of an angle, so you can't use a little poking stick to activate the consoles.
It's what happens is there is a handheld remote, but it fell back behind the seat cushions.
Never to be seen again.
So there actually is one more part to this map. There is a ready room that's back behind here. Which is also seen in the movie.
I like the chairs.
The chairs are nice.
Oh.
So one thing I noticed that we had on our show notes is a proper Twitter tag for Foundry content.
Yes, this has been bugging me.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so yeah.
So if I want to hashtag the Star Trek Online Foundry, so that people can search for tags and search for stuff specific to the Foundry, what is the proper Twitter
hashtag
I should be using?
Foundry's a little general, and putting those two together doesn't work. The one I've come up with is STO in caps and then Foundry in lower caps. That's the best I've been able to come up with.
Yeah, and I use the hashtag Stow, hashtag Foundry for the longest time, but you're right, it doesn't work very well because it's either Stow or Foundry. It's not like you can just combine the two.
Foundry is a word, and it's used in other places.
Yeah. So STO Foundry, one word, and then to make it nice and readable, I do STO caps Foundry lower caps.
And I don't think hashtags are case sensitive, so people can do it however they want. I didn't bring any drones with me.
This is how I like to make characters. Basically, I like to try and get everything possible out of a lockbox for a single character. So on this character, I've got all of the kit mods. I've got both of the ships. I've got the outfit and all of the traits. And it uses all the weapons. So I like to go like full on RP as much as I can.
There we go. We are now very secure.
And which reminds me is that there's probably another thing that we can guarantee that we will get out of the next expansion, which is a pack full of ships for lots of money.
Ooh, but what ships would they do?
Which ships would they do?
Oh,
question.
For how many ships that comes with those expansions? Because last time we got, it was kind of easy because it was our first jump into tier 6 for that first run through Delta Rising. Yes. Then we got a huge run, and then it seemed to make a lot of sense for the temporal ships too.
The temporal pack had basically what?
Basically the tiers
4, 4, and 3, essentially.
Yeah, it's basically the run up for the TOS.
As far as T6 ships, we had, I think,
it was basically like T6 versions of all the stuff we get running up, except in the
But you can kind of immediately imagine that, hey, we just get a bunch of TOS ships, but for Gamma Quadrant expansion, we've got a lot of.
Obviously, there are some DS9 ships that are not Dominion. That we could get as playable ships,
but we've got races. The key ones. So what does Cryptic have up their sleeve?
Well, they can make new ones.
Yeah.
They can make new Dominion themed ones. They can make new Cardassian themed ones.
Well, I'm thinking
we haven't talked about the possibility of more playable Cardassian stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously DS9 focused as well.
I'm thinking that if they do that big bundle, what if it's not focused on the faction? If there's not a new faction coming and Cryptic keeps up with alternation that this is all endgame content, what would they put together for a combined KDF-fed ROM bundle? Like they did for Delta Rising?
I mean, I guess I could do just a new set of ships themed around the Gamma Quadrant Expedition or something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
but you're right, it's not obvious like it was with the other expansions.
One thing you could do is come up with some more ships that are jointly designed by the three powers.
But
2410 era.
That would be interesting, a sort of a combined, a set of ships, maybe you could do it you have a hybrid ship that's available for two of the factions. To kind of keep it a little because it'd be hard to create a. Oh no, you could actually do something with that. I'm just thinking you can get it one ship that's available for say both the KDF and the Romulans, and you could go three ways too. But make this a little bit simpler. So you have a warbird, something that's like the original Bird of Prey, something that's very much a Romulan ship, but also very much a Klingon ship, and they have customization parts that allow you to sort of make it look more Klingon or more Romulan. And then you could even do that three ways.
You have a Federation ship that has a saucer but big swooping Romulan wings.
Yeah, something like that. Oh god, you can we're starting to
go. Think of some unholy kit bashes here.
Some unholy kit bashes, but some pretty good options too for something that's sort of like this hybrid vessel.
So just a minute,
because we've gone down this road a little bit before. When we kind of had the Dyson ships. Mm-hmm. were a little bit sort of, 3 faction ships designed with kind of the same theme.
Yeah.
But this would take it even further as in ships designed jointly by several races.
So, Drogyn, I'm going to skip to the chase and tell you exactly what you want to hear. You want all the kick bashes from the Dominion War. You want your Jaeger.
I want the Jaeger.
Oh, yes.
Because I have many Pacific Rim jokes to be made. USS canceling the apocalypse.
I mean, they could do like a bunch of kick bash ones, so like get the New Orleans and.
Yeah, they could do that. Like
there was one called the Cheyenne class, which was always kind of fun, which was like halfway between an Oberth and an Excelsior.
Isn't the Cheyenne class that one?
Or no, not
Galaxy
the
Saucer.
Class. It was something else. The Cheyenne class we actually already have.
Hang on,
yeah.
Shelley, that's what it was. The Shelley class.
Yeah. It would be funny though, like for Cryptic to try to create one bundle for the unholy kit bashes of TNG and DS9.
Okay.
So I have my DS9 technical manual here, which has all the cat bash ships from the.
Oh god.
All right. Yeah. I've also got a copy of that somewhere. So go ahead, read us off.
Okay, so they don't have their proper class names in here. So there is an Intrepid Constitution class variant, which has like the top half of a Intrepid class, but then the nacelles like curved down like a runabout, and then it's got a refit Connie nacelles with some kind of a TOS undersling hull.
I love it.
There's the Excelsior class starship variant, which I only get the side views, so it looks like it's got a Excelsior saucer, and then struts, and then a sideways. I think it's an Excelsior nacelle. I can't tell whether it's a single one or if it's a dual, or how they're configured. Because, like I said, I only got the side profile. We've got another one, which is another Excelsior saucer with like sideways. I think those are Connie nacelles, refit Connie nacelles, and then a underslung, like free floating. I'm sure it's an Oberth or a.
Is it another card? Is it another? There's one of these variants that was actually in. I can recognize because it was in the Star Trek Armada 3 mod for Sins of a Solar Empire, where it's the Excelsior hull, but it's basically shifted forward.
Yeah, it's sitting forward, and it definitely looks like it's disconnected from the saucer.
Yeah,
that's the one I was talking about.
It's a really weird connection point, but yeah, it's still connected, and it is the Excelsior hull, but it's got some really weird reconfiguration. So I think it's got like a forward-facing shuttle bay.
Yeah,
that was one where as fans do, they take these things that are seen in the background of a shot and develop all kinds of stuff for them. And I remember people saying that they thought that was a carrier.
Yeah, and that's the role they put in for the Star Trek Armada 3 mod. So that one.
Okay. So
oh god, that one I'm just trying to imagine that in Star Trek Online. That would be pretty unholy.
Okay,
some of these are really unholy.
Bloodleaf has a great thing for this. He says these kit bashes could be experimental designs to be ships that use the Miracle Worker spec. And they have to have these miracle workers on board to make them actually work, because they're that bad.
Oh, awesome! Oh god,
that's a good question. If the miracle worker is a full spec, I mean, are there going to be miracle worker ships?
Yeah, and I think there's some discussion of what you would actually call them, and I think worker ships might be serviceable, or they come up with some other designation. But yeah, for all full specs, I mean, we've got ships for these guys, so yeah, that's apparently coming. But yeah, we'll just see in what format they come. So
There's
yeah,
like one that's a refit Connie saucer and neck, and then just a upside down nacelle mounted on the bottom.
Oh, you know what I think would be crazy for like if they do these as ship packs is that they also include 25th century customization parts on these as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like the entire like there's oh god, what if there's only like 3 ships, but they've just got horrifying kit bash options. So eventually, like between these three configurations for like each faction, you can essentially make all these ships just with just some unholy customization options. Oh god,
Maybe that's not a terrible idea. What if the whole lineup is not like there are a bunch of different like ships and different configurations, but they all share parts with each other. So even if you don't want like that specific bridge officer layout, buying it unlocks a yet more kit bashing options. It's just this.
So what if it's like, okay, how about this? What if it's when you buy the ship, or when you claim the ship, what you claim is a sort of core that has a bridge officer and console layout, and say there's 3-4 different choices, but all those 3-4 different choices have the exact same pool of parts that you can use on them.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So basically, you can take the bridge officer and console layout that you want, and put any of these kit bash parts on it.
And
so like it would be like all the different variants of the Sovereign, except instead of like having different tiers, they'd all be tier 6 and have a different name.
Yeah,
except
so
that they can all share parts.
Yeah, so it basically kind of like I'm just trying to think of a good
this is just like the ultimate kit bash.
Yeah, so it's the so it's just the ultimate. It's the hyper kit bash ship, and I guess you could also like open it up too for the Romulan and KDF. I mean, you could develop new ships around it too, but if Cryptic strapped for time, they could also just throw in old parts too.
Yeah, just grab all the parts that they've made. Make sure they're the correct size. Obviously this is going to take some work. Make sure they're the correct size. Make sure they can fit on where they need to fit on, and then just allow you. Okay, go to nacelles. Okay, I have 20 different kinds of nacelles to choose from, and then go to nacon pylons, and I have 20 different things of those to choose from.
It's kind of like what the Miranda class is becoming, but I guess like to also include different configuration options. Actually, more like the patrol escort, because you've got some options for like really radically modifying that design, whether or not to include a secondary that central pylon, for example. So normally it's got 2 sets of pylons, but you can take one of those off now. So I'm thinking you could do something similar, where you've got just some customization, like say 3 nacelles versus 2 nacelles, and you can just completely chuck you have none options for some of these.
I'm hearing Thomas the Cat just cringe. I'm like 1,000 miles away, but I can hear him cringe from here.
Yeah, especially when you said 20 custom 20 nacelles.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe like 4.
It's not a proper kit bash if it doesn't make someone cringe.
Yes.
So one thing that's really funny to me about all these kit bash ships, they were essentially back when they were using models, they were meant to be in the back of shots. You weren't meant to see them, or they were in like the Wolf 359 debris field.
Oh yeah.
And one of them is very interesting. Okay, so the Discovery, for Star Trek Discovery, is based on an old drawing by Ralph McQuarrie that was made for a TV show concept that happened before TMP that never went anywhere.
Yeah.
But there was a model made, and they used it in the debris field for Best of Both Worlds. So that ship has been in Star Trek before. It was one of the kit bashes from the Best of Both Worlds debris field.
So we could get it now.
Yeah, right now, sure.
It's canon. Right now. Yeah. just make it so. Just make it so.
It's equally as canon as the Dauntless appearing in the Battle of Procyon 5.
One quick thing I just want to say about your doors here. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're cool.
Okay, no, there's even something cooler about them. And, since Mark's not here, I've got to point this out. Okay, so you see how there's those two colors to the door. Don't open up! It's the glass. So on the glass on the doors, you've got a little bit of that faded blue, and then you've got the clear. So the faded blue is perfectly sharp crystal clear for the transparency. But on just the uncolored sections, it's clear, but it's blurry. So you've actually got two different optical effects through the glass.
You've got yeah, I see that.
That is nifty. And
the one is more reflective than the other.
Yeah. So we may be the only people who notice that, but at least whoever put in the effort to actually design the door that way, your effort has not been in vain.
It seems like they're able to do a lot more with reflections now.
Yeah.
Than they used to be.
Yeah, lighting 2.0.
It could be a lighting 2.0 thing.
Yeah. Because, especially with the, the view screen out here.
This has got to be one of my favorite bridge maps.
Oh yeah,
it's not overly complicated or expensive or anything, but it's just cool looking.
It's got enough where you kind of just imagine spending the day. It'd be a great work environment.
And not to, okay, I know Insurrection gets a bad rap, but I like it.
I like it too. It's not until Into Darkness where there's a Star Trek movie which I don't like. And everything else is I like it. You don't necessarily have to have a movie that's, something that you create a religion around. It's hey, I just like it as a movie. It's fun. It's kind of my appreciation for Final Frontier or The Fifth Element, where it's I just like it.
So sometimes, and sometimes you even like things because they're bad.
Like Final Frontier.
Yeah.
For me, it's just
I like the Resident Evil movies, and I know they're bad, and and I kind of like them because they're bad.
And I like Mystery Science Theater.
Mystery Science Theater is kind of built on that concept.
And
if it wasn't a huge copyright violation, I would suggest we do a Mystery Science Theater style watch-throughs of some of the worst Trek movies.
That'd be...
some of the Mystery Science Theater guys have done that with their riff tracks.
Yeah, and you just get the MP3 and then you can just, do the overlay. And hey, there you go. I've been really tempted by their Final Frontier one, but it's I just kind of like that as a movie. I'm a little bit more tempted by the, their take on Phantom Menace and Clone Wars to make those watchable.
So of course, some more bad movies. Although yes. one of the interesting things that Sove has, and we, of course, obviously we've talked about that before, is they've taken some elements from some of what you'd call the worst Trek movies and episodes, and used them and made them pretty good.
Oh yeah,
like Nimbus.
Yes.
3.
Yeah, and it's just Cryptic does really have that knack for really kind of recognizing what to take, what not to take, and really making really strong reinterpretations of content for the 2409 to 2410 era. And it really feels just as valid as anything else in the Star Trek universe. And much more so than, for me, than most of the other Star Trek games, which kind of felt like they're almost in their own pocket dimension. And it's kind of almost hard to reconcile certain aspects. I always felt like this about Star Trek Armada, where it's it's fun stories, but I can't actually imagine this happening. Whereas Star Trek Online, it's yep, totally.
I don't know. Isn't Star Trek Armada isn't there time travel shenanigans going on?
There's some really weird... Yeah, and then Star Trek Legacy is even weirder. And then some of the Star Trek Starfleet Command games were a little bit more grounded. But it's still... They kind of had this really weird style to them. Where especially when they involved a cameo, where you almost kind of it's very sort of played up, and the stakes are just kind of outrageous. And then once all is said and done, it's it kind of felt more like a video game than a Star Trek story. Or Star Trek Online.
Cryptic never plays up for cameos.
Well, it's in a different way where it's like I can actually imagine this character being in this situation, whereas Star Trek Legacy is like I'm Captain Picard and I'm doing something completely outrageous in kind of like it's more melodramatic.
I think the Stowe storylines and all of that I think really fit in very well if you spread them out over about 20 years.
Yes.
Between 2 years, year and a half that it actually takes place.
Yeah. I kind of, my headcanon on like Star Trek Online is more of like a 5-year timeline.
I say 20 years because, maybe that's about the time for somebody to actually make captain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like from the player perspective. But like for the in-universe stuff, you can kind of get that within...
I mean,
it'd be a rush for a series.
It's a lot of stuff to have happen. It's like that. If you look at shows like The West Wing of how many crises happen in a day, it's probably not that many as what they show on an episode of the show.
Yeah.
That kind of level of how many crises happen probably takes place in about a week. So I mean, if you adjust the time frame, I think.
Here's
the Stowe stories fit in very well.
Okay, Star Trek Online is having what we're having now between 2016 and 2017. 2409 and 2410 just kind of working out the same way, where people just wake up in the morning.
Ridiculous acceleration of crises versus what you normally would encounter.
People wake up in the morning, it's like, who are we at war with now? And then by the end of the week, it's like, okay, we're moved on to a completely different faction.
Thanks, okay.
Well, I'm thinking,
I think we need to start. I think we need to start that as a new hashtag as well as thanks, okay.
Yeah, but it's kind of like funny with the timeline. It's really striking for the Romulan Republic because they go from just founding themselves to basically being on par with the Fed and KDF in terms of their ships and firepower. So I think that's kind of the biggest rush, and that's probably like
they absorb a lot of the Romulan Star Empire.
Yeah,
I think that's part of their acceleration.
Part of it, and then it's like them having a lot of infrastructure, so that would help. But it feels like they kind of need a little bit more time than just the 2 years. So it kind of feels like that like the Romulans would probably benefit most if you kind of stretch out their intro arc in headcanon to over a longer time period. And then same thing with your player captain, that what you go through is just sort of leading up to 2409, 2410. So, yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like how Cryptic originally, how Star Trek Online originally started. It's hard to kind of deal with that now, unless they just started like just compartmentalizing that, like they sync the calendar for the actual year to the game year.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned thanks, OKEG, because... correct me if I'm wrong, but according to lore, OKEG was elected in 4 years ago, wasn't he? Isn't he due for re-election?
He would be, yes.
Yeah. Assuming that they have 4-year terms. That is assuming.
I think that could be ripe for an in-game event of some kind.
Vote for the next president?
Yeah. Create some create some characters.
It's kind of ironic that
have little mini missions where you might I don't know, go to a campaign event or something, and then have the players vote, and then that's who becomes our president.
Yeah. Although it is funny that they didn't do it last year, but it might be for the best.
Yeah. And you would absolutely 100% want to stay away from anything that could be interpreted as real world politics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I could get. Not great.
Don't even do anything that's like a metaphor.
Yeah, I think like one thing, although for Trek, it's kind of like Trek kind of should be pushing the buttons a little bit.
Trek does that all the time, but still, yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be like if you involve the Federation in an election, it could just be something that's happening in the background of a Star Trek Online, just mission. Whereas, as in the course of things, like there's a plot that develops and all of a sudden turns on the Federation, and then the OKEG actually becomes more central as a character.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's
better to not do so much people as it is situations for if you're doing metaphors. So,
I mean, you think about what's going on in the universe right now. is, obviously we got heightened tensions between the Alliance and the Zencathi, if not outright conflict. And you've got a shakeup in the Klingon leadership, potentially, because Martok is suddenly alive.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to...
These are the issues that your candidates would comment on.
And I was actually surprised that they didn't sort of drag out. Well, they didn't. They kind of closed the door in Brushfire. Cryptic did on the sort of the tension between Martok and Jimpak.
Yeah.
Whereas they kind of like in that last briefing,
Jimpak was the one who challenged him to a duel and killed him, essentially.
Yeah, and then Martok, was brought back to life by the Sona. Spoilers. But yeah, it was kind of surprising that they didn't actually use that, because that could have actually been sort of a good metaphor for the sort of the challenge in leadership, where Jimpak is revealed to have some element of illegitimacy if it turned out that he was actually involved in the plot to, just if he was actually involved in the Sona scheme.
I think the problem with that is that it distracts from what the actual story the Cryptic is doing.
Yeah. This would be, just if Cryptic went in a different direction. So with the current story,
because there could be potential there for, a factionalization of the Klingon Empire. Maybe people want to rally behind Martok.
Yeah, and Cryptic definitely sort of put that aside to continue on with what they're doing. But it would have been another option if it turned out.
Part of that could be the availability of the voice actor. They don't want to tie themselves to try and get him back. If it turned out they couldn't, then they'd be up creek.
Or basically that they couldn't really sort of spin that out to be something that we could really do for multi-season arc that led them in the right direction. Because this would be like the Zencathi's aim would be to destabilize the Klingon Empire. So that would become, the Klingons would become central to the next few episodes, and then that would tie them into how they handle things from there on. Whereas now we're sort of moving in a different direction. So I think it's like the overall arc would definitely be changed if we did some more with the Klingons at this point.
Well, obviously we're going to have to title this episode something to do with speculation. Because that's basically what we've been doing the whole time. But that's okay, because,
or much ado about speculation.
Big reveals at STLV. This is our favorite pastime when stuff like that comes out, is to speculate.
And shout out to the people that are quote correspondents at STLV, Rogue Enterprise, Johnny Snowball. Who am I forgetting? Because aren't there 3 Foundry authors down there?
Captain P.F. Dennis is there.
P.F. Dennis, that's right.
He doesn't go in for Twitter much these days. But that's
yeah. But they've been representing the community down there, and Johnny Snowball gets special props because on 10 Forward Weekly, kind of a little bit at my pushing, he did a kill Foundry photobomb.
Yeah.
So
obviously, if you want to know what being at Stowe or the STLV or a convention is like, go check out the archived version of the KL's 10 Forward Weekly from this week, because he takes you through basically the whole convention.
Yeah, and then you guys did your video last year, and that's something that people could also bring up again and check out, because you guys again were there and did a really nice long
talked to
piece
lots
about
of Foundry authors and Stowe players, and Dragoon did a good job with that. But let's see. I think we're going to end it here for the evening. So, Dragoon, if you want to put up our contact info.
Okay. We can be reached by email at foundryroundtable@live.com. We are also on Twitter at foundryroundtab. Drogyn can be reached at Drogyn1701. Duncan can be reached at Gorgonops_SSF. Mark can be reached at Markhawkman. And I, of course, can be reached at Greendragoon.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and we will say good night.
Good night.
Good night.